I'm Flames, and welcome to another video. And like the title says, I will be ranking and sort of reviewing all the Transformers movies. And mind you, this is not an objective tier list, it's just my opinion, so if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. I will actually leave the link to the tier list in the comments, so you can make your own tier list and share it with me on Twitter if you would like a conversation, or just comment down below. So let's get on with it! So, I'll be ranking the movies in chronological order. So, from the very first one to the latest one, which is Transformers 1, and I will also try to give a little bit of quick reviews whenever I rank them. So, let's get on with it. The very first one, of course, is Transformers the movie from 1986? Yes, of course, 86, duh. So, what do I think about this movie? Well, I don't think it's perfect. And okay, I know that's controversial to say because people on Twitter or everywhere will always tell you that this is the best movie ever made and it's the peak of Transformers. And I don't disagree that it's iconic and pretty much the baseline for every Transformers movie. Of course, it introduced concepts like the matrix of leadership or a lot of things like Unicron that still stand to this day. So yes, the impact it had is very important. It's a staple in the franchise. But as a movie, I don't think it's the best one. Not to say that it isn't good, but you have annoying characters like Wheelie or weird side plots like the Quintessons or whatever that probably could have been skipped. I don't know. There's like that 80s feel to it that you may go, that's kind of weird. Unless you like grew up with it and have nostalgia for it. But all of that to say that I don't think it's an S. Like personally, I would probably rate it an A as an actual movie because also another thing that I think it prevents it from being an S to me is that of course you need to sort of have that context of the actual show because this is more like a feature-length TV show special rather than a proper movie at times because you don't really need to watch the whole show to get it, but it works in tandem with the show, so that's what prevents it from being an S to me. Anyway, if I didn't die already, let's get on to the next one. So, the next movie that was made is actually the 2007 one. And it was a very long gap to get there, so yeah. Now, I know I just went on a rant that I don't think the first movie was all that great and most of the popularity comes from nostalgia. So, I am a hypocrite. I am going to rate 2007 an S. And now, not to be a Bavers glazer or anything like that, but this movie is one of the main things that I grew up with for Transformers. The other was Armada and pretty much the Bavers. So I don't think it's a peak movie in a lot of senses because you have all the boring stuff with humans, which is one of the most common criticisms from the Bavers. Nobody likes the human parts. But the whole actual Transformers bits, I think it's just so emblematic and so special to me. Again, this is not an objective tier list. This is just how I feel about it. Like, when someone mentions Transformers, this is what comes to mind. And yes, it has boring parts with Sam Witwicky and what's her name? So yeah, of course it's not a perfect movie. But yes, I am being very hypocritical here. That's an S for me. So, what about the next one? Now, I know I just glazed all over the 2007 one, but I cannot do that for Revenge of the Fallen. Now, Revenge of the Fallen is... I actually watched it pretty recently. Well, kind of recently. And it sucks. It's so bad as a movie. It has everything that could possibly go wrong. Like, and the very first one in 2007, you can probably ignore all the boring bits like what the hell is this or whatever. But with Revenge of the Fallen, you actually have that like tenfold. You have the dog scene, you have the racist robots, and whatever. Like, I know people don't really care about it, and I understand, like, people that still like this movie to this day mostly ignored that because, yeah, when you're a kid, you don't really pay attention to that stuff, and it doesn't really matter to most people. So I get why it has its fans, and of course it still has awesome robot scenes like Devastator or John Turturro or even jet-powered Optimus Prime. So yes, it has its moments, like all of the Bayverse movies, but this one is so unbearable to watch unless you're in for like for a fun time with your friends or like in a video call or like in a couch, like just commenting over it. That's the main way I enjoyed this movie, because watching it by itself is just... I'm probably going to rate this C. It's not the worst Transformers movie, because again, you can kind of enjoy it if you make fun of it or whatever, like so bad it's good sort of deal, but yeah, it's... Now, how about the next one, which is of course Dark of the Moon. And now, Dark of the Moon is generally, like, from what I've seen on Twitter or like Transformers spaces or whatever, it's generally the most loved out of all the Bayverse movies. And I can definitely see why. It has the most action out of all of them. Like, it also had a great toy line to go with it. Like, everyone remembers the Hunt, was that Hunt for the Decepticons? Or, I don't know what it's called. I think that was Revenge of the Fallen, actually, but it had the, like, armored car gimmick thing, and everyone loved that. So, yes, I get why everyone has very fond memories of it. It also had Leonard Nimoy, I think, yes, for Sentinel Prime, so, of course, great cast all around. And, yes, it's just such an iconic movie to watch, but I don't think it's an S. And the reason for that is because, I don't know, it also suffers from all the issues that all the other live-action movies have, well, most of them, that the human bits are so boring or so weird. Like, you always laugh at them, but probably not because they wanted you to laugh at them. They're just kind of awkward to watch, so you can probably do without them. However, I still do think it's so iconic, so, like, extreme with its action that, I don't know, I just love it. And I know people really hate Murder Prime. Like, they always say, oh, he's a war criminal, why would you ever like this movie? But I don't care too much, so I'm not going to put it as an S, but an A, like, above, well, no, I think both are tied, so an A. Really good movie. Well, enjoyable movie, not really a great movie. So how about the next one? The next one that came out wasn't actually live action. It was technically Beast Hunters Predacons Rising. And I saw someone on Twitter actually like do this tier list without TF1, but they had a separate like thing at the bottom of the list that said not really a movie. And I get why they did that, because this thing does not really feel like a movie. I know I said that about the 86 one, but this one is like tenfold that criticism, because if you did not watch anything about Prime, and by the way, I love TF Prime, that's the other thing that I grew up watching, so very fond of it, but this thing makes almost no sense unless you watched the entirety of TF Prime. This isn't really like a feature-length movie, more like a TV special, which I guess it was. So, yeah, this thing is, I don't know, it's good, but without having watched any of TF Prime, you would be very, very lost watching this. However, it does have like a nice plot to it. I guess it has action. It has a nice resolution. So I'm going to call it. It feels wrong to put it at C with Revenge of the Fallen. So I'm going to place it on B. But very. I should actually probably move down Revenge of the Fallen and move this down. Okay, that feels better. That makes more sense. So yes, not really a movie, so it's not bad. It's a good episode, but not a good movie. So now the next one that came out was Age of Extinction, and Age of Extinction, I have interesting story with it because when it came out, I was so in love with it. I bought the Blu-ray, I bought the Krios, so I loved everything about it. In school, I would talk about how much I loved it with my other friends that loved it. But in hindsight, what? This movie is so weird. It's so... I don't even know how to describe it. Like, the human parts in all the, like, the main three Beavers movies were always boring. Like, they were always weird or like eccentric, but they were never that creepy. Because here you have like the EDP 2000 Dr. Disrespect guy. So I don't know. This was just, what the hell? The whole human thing is so much worse in this one than any of the other ones. Of course, you have like the funny CEO guy, which kind of makes up for the weird stuff because he's funny. But yeah, it's so awkward to watch whenever there's a human on screen. However, this is my hot take, flaming take, if you will. The actual Autobot cast, like the Autobot team, which is Hound, Crosshairs, and Drift, and Bumblebee, and of course Optimus. My hot take is that this Autobot team is better than the original Autobot team. I don't know, they just have like this sort of chemistry, and they actually try to give them a little bit of character, unlike the other movies. So I don't know, it just resonates with me, especially Hound. Hound carries this movie so hard on his ballerina back that, I don't know, he's a highlight. And of course, dinosaurs, they're awesome. Everyone likes dinosaurs. This movie is a guilty pleasure, so I'm going to put it at I'm going to put it on B. Well, not B. I can't read. C. And the reason for that is because all the robot bits are so awesome. I don't know. All the human parts bring this movie really down. So yeah, C is fine. It's enjoyable if you like. Skip over the human bits. And Lockdown. Wow. Awesome. And then we have, what's it called? The Last Night, of course. So, The Last Night is pretty much every single criticism I've ever said in the past movies tenfold. This movie is such a chore to watch. It's unreal. Because while you may expect to have like some sort of consistency or continuation from the last one or whatever, it just like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a mess. And the thing about it is that while it's a mess, you would assume that it's automatically like the worst one of the bunch, and you would be right. However, it's also an extremely funny movie. Like, this movie is so enjoyable when you watch it as a comedy. I've seen people on Twitter all the time post the weird aspect ratio changes when Anthony Hopkins dies. So, yes, it has funny things like that, but none of it is intentional. It's just a weird thing to watch. And yes, it has some cool moments, like, of course, some Nemesis Prime scenes. And Megatron looks better than ever in all of these live-action movies. But none of that actually, like, has that aura, if you will. that all the other Bayverse movies had. Like, the only scene that I can think of that you go, holy shit, that's awesome, is near the end where, like, Optimus kills, what's it called? Infernicus? So, yeah, it has some moments, but this one especially has the least Bayverse moments. It just feels like he phoned it in. Because you have Spanish slurs, you have weird Decepticons, you have boring scenes, and you have French hot rod. So I don't know. It's such a weird thing to watch at any given time. So this one takes the cake. It is the worst one, or it's the best one if you watch it as a comedy. So yes, it belongs in the trash. So goodbye. So the next movie that came out was Bumblebee. And the Bumblebee movie is generally, like, in any Twitter spaces and even like official rating sites like RT or whatever, it's generally considered the best live-action Transformers movie. And for good reason. I know everyone on Twitter or YouTube always, like, whenever someone talks about the Bumblebee movie, they will always bring up the Cybertron scene, because yes, everyone would love a Cybertron movie only. But that's not what the Bumblebee movie is all about. Yes, it has a really good scene, but you're only talking about like the first 5 minutes. The movie is over an hour long. Like, I think it was almost 2 hours? I don't know. So let's talk about the rest of the movie. So what this movie does best is definitely the character work, because up until this point of the other live-action movies, specifically the live-action movies, they really try to give the actual Transformers characters. Like, yes, you have really inspiring Optimus with his speeches, or I don't know, whatever Bumblebee has going for him in the other movies, but you never really get what they're for or what they're against. Like, sometimes you get a smidge of personality with Hound and Crossers, etc., but it's just really, really small. So I don't know. This movie was a groundbreaker in that aspect, because even though Bumblebee cannot talk like usual, you really feel like his connection with Charlie, which is also a great character, probably the very first good human character in all of these movies. So you feel their connection and you really want them to continue their relationship, because by the end of the movie they of course part ways, but you don't really want to, because Charlie took such good care of Bumblebee that you want to see them more together. It's sort of that connection that the other humans have in the actual cartoons, which work really great most of the time. So to see that really well portrayed in a movie is great. But yeah, the character work here is great, and of course Shatter and Dropkick are great villains, even though they don't, well, Dropkick doesn't really talk too much. They really want to, I don't know, accomplish their goals. So yes, they're great. Bumblebee's great. This movie is definitely an S tier. And yes, even though it didn't have a lot of action and a lot of scenes, it's just so good for like a reboot. Because yes, I will maintain this is a reboot. No matter what Lorenzo says or anyone else says, this is very clearly a reboot. It does not match with the Vabers or anything like that. Stop coping. Stop coping. You cannot connect them. But after reaching their peak, they must go down once again. Because up next is Rise of the Beasts. And this movie is... it hurts me. Because I was so hyped, not as hyped as TF Hype Guy on Twitter, but I needed this movie, and I got it, and it was good. But it wasn't great, because after the Bumblebee movie, you would expect that they learned their lesson and would focus more on the characters and relationships of the actual Transformers. And while they kind of do with Optimus going through a really good arc, because here we have like tired Optimus, like not really that optimistic, if you will, like really weathered down from the war and their efforts that in the Bumblebee movie it would seem like they paid off, but now they're stranded on Earth, they have no way to go back. So of course he would be sad that he can't go home, but it's also like the only actual character in the movie. Bumblebee is dead for most of it. And well, to be fair, Mirage is great. I really loved Mirage. He was a good replacement for Bumblebee, at least for most of the movie. So no real complaints from there. However, RC, Wheeljack, and who else was in this movie? Was there any other Autobot? Crap. Well, the Beast, the actual Beast, the title of the movie. They don't really have a lot of character either, besides Eraser and, well, Optimus Primal, which was great. I loved Optimus Primal. But all of that character development that they could have had instead goes to Noah and the other human characters. But they don't really do a whole lot either. Like, yes, they're not bad or annoying like the other elites in the Bayverse movies. They're good. But they also take a lot of time from the actual Transformers, so I don't know. I wish we could stop doing this. And I know the next one is G.I. Joe, so hopefully they're just background characters like Nest. I did not mind Nest or Sector 7 in any of the Bayverse movies. They work just fine. So if they can like do something like that for the next movie, I will be fine with it. But here it was, I don't know, a little bit overdone. So yeah. And about the antagonists, the Predacons, only Scourge really did stuff, and the others just kind of died. So I would have loved better antagonists. And Unicron was great, but of course didn't really do much. They're just setting him up. So yeah, this movie was so close to being great, but I don't know, it's not there. So this is the first one to go into B. Transformers 1. It finally came out yesterday in all of the world. Well, not the UK, but yes, this movie was... I'm not going to spoil anything. You can go to my spoiler video if you want all of that. But this movie is truly special. It's not the best movie when it comes to action. It only has like about 1 or 2 scenes with really good action, which I loved, but it lacked a lot of it. And that was my main complaint with it. I rated it 8.5 out of 10 because of that. However, this movie is truly something special when it comes to characters. Of course, it has no humans at all, so that's its main strength. It focuses completely on the actual Transformers we love to watch. Now, for the first time in forever, Megatron has a character, a personality, and Optimus, you can sort of see his growth to the actual leader we know and love. And Bumblebee, even though I didn't love him, like, he's a chatterbox, and, well, I am a chatterbox too, but he jokes all the time in all of the movies, so I guess that can sort of be annoying to people. It didn't really annoy me, but I wish he had done more besides that, but he wasn't bad. Now, Alita was also great, really good female character, like, probably, I know we had RC in the last one and Eraser, but Alita takes it up a notch, and she's such a good character, lots of screen time, and a very distinct personality. She is very stubborn. You would not expect her to be the way she is in the movie, but she's great. And because of that, it's by far the best character-driven Transformers movie of all, even topping Bumblebee in that aspect. But like I said, it didn't really have a lot of action because it spends a lot of its time setting up the actual universe it's set in. And again, not a spoiler, but this movie cannot be connected to the Bayverse. So do not listen to Lorenzo again. This movie is its own thing. You can maybe connect it to Bumblebee, or Rise of the Beasts, but not Bayverse. So, if you haven't watched it, think of it that way, like its very own thing, contained. It can have its own sequels or whatever, which I hope they do. But yeah, this movie is a foundation, like the start of something great if they actually continue it, because at this point, I think the movie is bombing, which is really sad to see, at least in the US. But yeah, this movie and this universe deserves better. Go watch it. It's, despite the criticisms I've said, like if I look at it objectively, which I haven't looked at any of the other movies objectively, I think it's an S. And if I look at it subjectively, I think I'm still going to rate it an S. And even though I have my complaints about the action and whatever, this is the start of something great. This is the first time I actually care about something besides action. Because here you can really feel like the relationships between the characters, between Optimus, between Megatron, between all the others. I want more of this. And if I have to put it as an S, as a statement, I will. Because I want more of this. And you should too, I think. Probably, maybe. I can tell you what to do. So, that's my final tier list on all the Transformers movies. And I think it's pretty standard. Maybe some controversial picks here and there, but I think it's fine. It's fine, whatever. So if you enjoyed this video or want to support me, like, subscribe, all that stuff, whatever, I don't care. Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and Twitch if you want more content, animations, or just rambling opinions from this dumb VTuber robot thing. So yeah, anyway, that's it, and see you in the next time.